You're probably wondering why I'm posting a video on Facebook and YouTube. And honestly, I think it's just because this is the best way for me to be able to tell a large amount of people, and it still gives me the ability to be personable. I didn't feel like this is a good thing to just write a quick post on and then let it be. So the last year's been interesting for me. I recently moved to a completely different part of California, had a big change from one job to another, and all this change has sort of forced me to take some time for my own self-awareness. For those of you who don't know, I've been working in a funeral home since I was a teenager, and loved everything that I've done so far while doing that. But in this last year, it took some time for me to realize it, but it wasn't necessarily what I was doing that I loved, even though I did, but it was what it represented while I was doing it. I always knew deep down that I needed to be in an industry where I was able to really help people. And that will never change. But ultimately, in the last year, it's become more and more evident that there's more than one way to do that. So the purpose of this video is to tell you where I'm headed, and to share a big life decision that me and my wife have taken a chance and a leap of faith in order to do. So as of yesterday, I'm a licensed real estate agent here in the state of California. I'm taking a step back from being a mortician, which I've done for the last huge chunk of my life, and I'm making a career change into something different. I wanted to make sure that it stayed in the same realm of wanting to help other people. They say the three most stressful time in a person's life is marriage, dealing with death, and moving. And I think moving myself really showed me that. Suddenly having to uproot your entire life and then just place it somewhere else and say, I'm going to do everything that I had been doing, just somewhere completely different, surrounded by completely new people in a completely new environment, it's not that easy. Let alone the stress and the confusion that came with, okay, well, what do we do with the house back in town? Do we sell it? Do we rent it? How do we sell it? Where do we go? Who do we ask for questions? And how do we get this done? I think it was all the stress and confusion that came from that really reminded me of what I had already been doing working in a funeral home. I work well in a really stressful environment, which I know makes me kind of a weird person, but I like being in a situation where there's a lot of stress and difficulty, and that's a hurdle to overcome. And to help other people with the same hurdle along the way, that's what gives me energy. That's what kind of pushes me to get out of bed in the morning. If I don't have that, I don't know what I'm doing, and I just get lethargic, and I get kind of depressed, and I'm ultimately a very unhappy, kind of grumpy person. If I'm not out there helping people when they really need it, then ultimately I don't know what the hell I'm doing with my life. And so ultimately, whenever I decided to make a change, real estate was the first thing that popped in my head. I want to prove to the world that you can have an abundant lifestyle based off of just wanting to help people. And I feel like this is the best way for me to be able to do that. I loved working in a funeral home, and I loved everything that I did. And I'm not going to go into a bunch of different reasons on why I decided to leave that industry. I'd rather just focus on the positives of why I'm wanting to go into a new one. That being said, there are a lot of people that didn't realize that I was doing this, and for those of you who I hadn't told, I really want to say I'm sorry. And at the end of the day, it was more something that I was trying to keep hidden for myself than it was for someone else. That being said, I do want to take some time to really say thank you to a few key people. Number one is I want to say thank you to my wife. She's been more than just a little supportive in all of this. It's sort of a stressful situation, and it will continue to be a stressful situation. And so to have that level of support in home really is the make or break kind of reason why I'm able to do something like this. And the level of support is insane. And I can't even begin to explain to the degree that it is, so I'm just going to leave it at thank you and let you guys run away with your imagination on just how much work my wife is putting in for my decision to do something like this. Number two is my mom. And I know that's a little cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. My mom has always been there, and even in the hardest of times, she always sort of tried to push me to be a better person, even when she didn't even think she was a better person herself. My mom instilled in me a really big sense of passion for working hard really young. In high school, I didn't have to worry about her pushing me to do anything for my grades because I was already going to do that. When it came to going to work, whenever I was still a little kid living under her house, she never had to wake me up to make sure that I made it to work on time. She knew I was going to myself. I don't take sick days unless I absolutely have to. I hate vacations and I hate 4-day weekends because if I'm not there doing the job and the job's not getting done and that kind of stuff eats away at me, and whenever I am there doing the job, I'm as happy as I can be as long as I love the job. And it was something like that I don't think I would have gotten unless I had a mom like I have, pushing me to find something that I enjoy, something that I'm good at, and something that ultimately makes me want to go to work. Which also goes into a big apology. My mom didn't know that I was doing this. She knew that I had quit working in a funeral home a few months back, and I sort of left it at that. And at the end of the day, it was more because she's one of the people whose opinions I value the most, and couldn't exactly hide what I was doing for my wife, but I could hide it from her, and so until I was ready, I wasn't comfortable with too many people finding out. And the people that I hid it from the most tend to be the people whose opinions really matter the most. And so for me hiding this from you, I want you to know that I'm excited to do something like this, and that I appreciate everything you've done in order to make me feel confident in my ability to do it. Which, in the end, leads me to the third person I want to say thank you to, and probably the hardest person I want to say thank you to, and that would be my mentor. You, from a very early point in my life, gave me a sense of perspective doing what we had done in a funeral home together that I would have never gotten anywhere else. And it's something that I will constantly hold with me no matter where I go. You pushed that level of hard work that I already really valued in myself and just cranked that up to an 11. You gave me a plateau of someone that I wanted to work like because you were the only person in the room that worked harder than me, and I hated that. And so I just did everything I could to try to match that or do more. And it's so hard to do when you have a good mentor, to try to match that level of passion that they have. If you have a good mentor like I do, trying to match their level of passion is almost impossible because you wouldn't have gotten that mentor if they weren't so passionate. And so to see that level of passion and try to match it over and over every day and struggle because of just how much work you put in, it makes me want to be a better person. And that's why it's so hard to do a video like this for some people, because you probably are the hardest person to tell. And that's because you put in so much time and so much effort in grooming me to be the best embalmer and the best funeral director that you could possibly help. And so to say I'm going to take a step away and not do that anymore is so hard for me to do because I know that in a way I'll be letting you down. And so I just want to say thank you for giving me a sense of passion and a sense of perspective that I know I will keep with me forever, because regardless of whatever industry I'm in, I will always keep pushing myself to have the same level of passion that you have, and I will work harder than you ever did because you're the plateau that I've been trying to meet this entire time. And I may not necessarily work harder than you today, I may not necessarily work harder than you tomorrow, but I will inevitably beat that level of hard work that you constantly displayed on a daily basis. You're the hardest person to tell. And I just want you to know that I'm still carrying the same values that you taught me, and I'm still learning every day from the things that you were teaching me. You'll always be my mentor, regardless of whatever industry I'm in. So, that's sort of the entire bulk of the video. I want to thank everyone who's watched it so far, and I want to just thank everyone in general for the level of support that I've gotten and probably will continue to get. One thing I will say, and I'll leave the video at this, is that working in the industry that I have been working in, working at a funeral home since I was a teenager, makes one thing a concrete fact. I may not always be the smartest real estate agent in the room. I may not always be the most charismatic, and I may not always be the most talented, but I guarantee you I'm going to work harder than anyone else, and I'm going to care more than everyone else. And those two values will never go away. Thanks everyone. Take care. Bye.